everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Catherine. I am very happy to have with me Jodi Stokes. She is a concierge fitness professional and author. And Jodi, it is so great to see you.
It's great to see you too, Catherine. Thank you for having me on today.
Well, thank you. A very important conversation we're going to have today because you have been a fitness expert, lifestyle and nutrition expert. For many years, you have a degree in exercise science from the University of Arizona. And we're going to talk a little bit about the fitness industry because we know it's been hit hard during this pandemic with gyms closed most of the time. This is unprecedented for a lot of people. What kind of impact is this having on the physical and the emotional wellness when we don't have that regular outlet and that regular release that we're used to in a time when being healthy from the inside out is so critical?
Well, first, my heart goes out to all the business owners. As being a previous business owner of a gym, I'm understanding, how they have to close from the very beginning, and now have to reclose. So they've got responsibilities as their rent and their employees and all of that. So my heart goes out to those people. What I've noticed during these unprecedented times is that people have gotten extremely creative. They've had to adapt rather than react. And I think that that's been vital, and we obviously need to be working out during these times to reduce stress for our health and wellness, all of that. But what I've noticed, and maybe you have too, is that I've seen more people out walking and running and riding their bikes more than ever. And, it might be out of necessity right now. Hopefully it's not because they've lost their job, but they're having a little more time in their day where they are able to get out and be creative, as well as business owners have had to get creative right now in this moment. And likewise, myself, I've had to get incredibly creative with my clients to help them maintain their fitness, their sanity, if you will, through these times. So that's what I've noticed the most is that we've had to really just kind of dig deep and find ways to keep people working out through these times. What people need to know is that during these times they don't have to go to their gyms. They can be at home with relatively little equipment. They can have, a mat and some light weights. They can use their body weight. And I think that those are mostly the important things for people to know right here, right now.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening at home because as a concierge fitness professional, you're able to go mobile, which is really important during a time like this, to help people work out in their homes and also in their pools. That becomes more difficult, though, in the age of social distancing. But you have, as you mentioned, been able to pivot during this pandemic by continuing to train your clients by phone mostly, which is so unique and such a great way to adapt to what's happening. How are your clients responding to the shift in how they're still able to stay fit?
Well, they work hard on keeping their routine. Their routine is the most important thing to them. They've been consistent, they've seen results, and they want to continue on with it. So it was a creative point on my side too. I had to figure out how I was going to get through to them. And sometimes I tried FaceTime and that didn't work so well because they would cross the room and I couldn't see them. So with a lot of my older clients, I call them active agers because some of them could kick, all over our butts, but they work best with ear pods and earphones, and I can walk them through it basically because I have been doing this for so long, Catherine, that I could do it, with my eyes closed. So I can talk them through their exercise from home. And when we mention little to no equipment at home too, sometimes people have had a hard time getting equipment. I'm sure that you've heard that, people are, the weights are gone at Targets and Walmarts and on Amazon. So I have dropped off equipment at their house. It's all sanitized, and they will use that for that week. And then, change the equipment every week. So you as a professional have to really keep them going, keep them interested, and keep them on task. That's and they want to stay on task because it's what makes them feel better in this moment. I love being creative with their workouts. It might be my boot camp. I've done themed days where we had a beach day because we can't go anywhere. So why not go to Hawaii? Or why not have, and why not have Pirate Day? So we do these things that keep them engaged and keep them, involved and sane, honestly.
Well, you have been able to be so creative, and you talk about sanity because it's not just, as we mentioned, about our physical well-being, but our emotional well-being. Are you impressed by how the industry as a whole has been able to pivot and shift and use technology to their advantage to keep the fitness momentum going for so many people?
Very impressed. You know, you see more, there's more YouTube videos out, there's more engagement on Facebook and Instagram, and people are doing these things out of the kindness of their heart too. They're not charging, you know, for everything. I know my trainer tip Tuesdays are, you know, they're always up there. They're to help people have an exercise for the day, for the week, use them all, whatever you want. So yes, had this happened in the 80s, God forbid, but we would have been using, you know, our video machines with Kathy Smith and Jane Fonda. We would have tried to figure it out another way. I mean, but our technology right now has enabled us to be able to connect with our clients through, you know, through our phones, through our Zoom meetings, through, you know, FaceTiming. So by the grace of God, we've had the technology to be able to keep them engaged.
We have indeed,
for sure.
yes. Let's talk about the type of fitness that you teach, because one type you're known for is water exercise. You've designed and taught water programs at some of the most well-known resorts in Arizona. In fact, you've written a book, congratulations. It's called Water Exercise for Exercise Enthusiasts, Teachers, Trainers, and Health Support. It was just released earlier this year, available now on Amazon. It is a book inspired by your father, who had polio. You've said it took 18 years to write this book. Tell me a little bit about your dad's influence and why it took almost 2 decades to actually write it.
So, you know, growing up, I grew up in Arcadia. I was born and raised here. So, you know, my dad had a crippling disease, but I never thought about it. He rode his bike, he swam, he took cod liver oil before we knew it was an omega-3. He was just bigger than life to me. And, but there's something, and we don't know a lot about polio because it's not our generation, you know, necessarily. And so there's something called post-polio syndrome, which means you fall a lot later in life. And that's because it requires so much energy for you to use your muscles. And he had one leg that was significantly shorter than the other. So it required a tremendous amount of energy for him to walk. So I had moved from Arizona to California at the time, but I flew back with my kids and he had been falling a lot. So I wrote up a little program for him with little stick figures and little watermarks, and he had laminated the page, put it in a notebook. And later I had taken it back to California, had someone take pictures of me. I had it copywritten and, you know, was ready to get it published through Ivy Publishing at the time. And then my father had passed away tragically.
I'm so sorry.
And then, thank you, then my sister had passed away tragically, and we had a couple more deaths following in our family. So I was taking care of my family and working at the same time, so I had to put it on the back burner until about a year ago. And one of my clients, Rachel Boyer-Schumann, who did the photography for me, I said, I finally need to get this done, because there are clients that ask me for information on how to use the water. And it really had saved my father's life at the time. He had worked up to 55 minutes a day. It gave him more range of motion, more flexibility, more stability than he had ever had. And I wanted to take those principles and tell whoever I could that water exercise can actually be the do-all and be-all for you if you feel like you can't do normal activities like my father. Well, he could, but it was a struggle for him, but he still did it. So I'm grateful that the book came out on Easter, which was during the pandemic, and it's already helped so many people. So I'm grateful. I love it.
Well, you've been through a lot in a short amount of time, and so this has been a labor of love, I know. When you talk about water therapy and exercise specifically, people tend to think of water exercise as something for seniors. But really, as you mentioned, it is a challenging workout that anyone can benefit from, right?
Correct. And I call my seniors active agers because I literally feel like they could outwork any of us. You know, there's no stipulation. And you're right, Catherine, because a lot of people thought that water exercise was an old ladies class. When I worked at Canyon Ranch, which is where I first learned how to do water exercise, I did learn water exercise for arthritics, for people who had muscular sclerosis, for people who had limitations in the water. Later, when I had my running clubs and I had run 30 half marathons and done some of those things, I used to put my athletes in the water, and I used to put some of my pregnant women in the water, people who could work out just as hard in the water, and then, then on land, but not be injured. And the principles of the water that people don't realize is that, other than it's, you not being so weight bearing on the ground, is that everything in the water is a double concentric contraction. So there's no gravity pulling you down, right? So when you do a bicep curl in the water, you're doing a tricep extension as well. So the more viscous you make the water, that means the faster you work the water, the more resistance is placed on your muscles. So you could technically burn more calories in the water than on land. So athletes can get in the water. You see athletes training in the water all the time. So these classes that I teach right now, they're not easy classes at all. They're geared toward people getting accountable, measurable results, feeling good. The cool properties of the water help you feel better, and the hydrostatic pressure pushes on your muscle to help release lactic acid. So you don't necessarily feel sore either, which is hugely beneficial. You can go longer. So yes, the water is not for just seniors. It's for everyone, if they know how to use it properly.
Absolutely. Sure. And you talk about this, of course, in your book. You also talk a lot about nutrition and the importance of that. And especially right now during this pandemic, when it's so important to maintain a strong immune system. What can people do to help boost our immune system right now?
So good call. This is important right now because we're a little out of control with everything. We're feeling a little out of control. So these are scientific and proven, lifestyle modifications that people can do right now to literally save their life and keep them healthy. So there's about 4 or 5 of them, but I'll breeze through them. If anyone wants any information, they can find me after. We'll start about nutrition. So we want to make sure that we are getting in, our phytonutrients, all of our, antioxidants, and we want to get in lipid soluble vitamins, our A's, our K's, our D's, our E's, right? So the best way, and remember, food is medicine. So we kind of forget about that. And what we need to get in right now through the Institute of Functional Medicine is about 9 to 13, not fruits and vegetables, but fruits and vegetables in our diet a day. And you want to think of a rainbow of these items. So, if you're worried about sugars and fruits, which you shouldn't because they're so full of antioxidants, then get your fruits in the morning. I'm not a big vegetable person in the morning anyway. So 9 to 13 servings. And remember, a serving is about a handful, like a handful of blueberries, a half of an apple, a half of a banana. With that, we also want to get in more fiber in our diet. So they've upped our numbers a little bit from, I used to say 25 grams of fiber in your diet a day. It's now 28 to 35. Now remember, though, you can get your fiber through your fruits and vegetables. So people kind of forget about that. You can also get it through brown rice and good healthy breads and things like that. Some other things that are helpful to our gut health, which is where our microbiomes start. This is where we have to maintain our immune systems. You can get in fermented vegetables, such as sauerkrauts or probiotic yogurts and things like that. Those will help our gut health. And we want to diffuse immune offenders like sugars and salts and high glycemic foods, processed foods, anything refined. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we really need to be careful with excessive alcohol, because alcohol depresses your immune system. So if you can integrate these, and they're very simple to do, you really have to just focus on it, write it down, check a list off, but make sure that you're getting those in on a daily basis. Those will help your immune system big time.
Fabulous. Such very important advice. And like you said, it's something we can all do right now. We just have to be very mindful of what we are putting into our body, because the bottom line is we just have to have an immune system that is as strong as ever before.
You have to be hyper vigilant about it right now. I know that people are comfort eating and doing some of those things, maybe a little over drinking. They're feeling stressed, but I have to take control of it right now. Think of it to save your.
Sleep is also essential to making sure that we have a boosted immune system, right?
That is correct. So sleep is where our immune system resets itself. And I know that it's really hard during stressful times, but it's required that we get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So if you're trying, the best thing you could do is turn off some of your devices at night. Make sure that you're in a cool, comfortable place, dark. I have a bedtime routine. I like to go to sleep clean, so I'll take, a hot bath, or, make sure that I have a lavender diffuser in my room. So whatever makes you happy. Even you can get an app right now that can help you sleep better. So we have to focus on the sleep and the bedtime routine to help keep our immune system strong, for sure.
There are so many great apps out there that you mentioned too, that that's a really easy to help ourselves get to sleep when we feel like we can't.
Yes, keep it. Another thing I do to help me sleep is I go through my list of what I'm grateful for the day. It helps me remind myself, right? Exactly. So do exercise. You want to talk about how we need exercise right now for our immune system, which is, just as much my specialty. So moderate, regular physical activity obviously helps boost our immune system, but we have to remember that it raises levels of infection-fighting white blood cells. We forget about that. We're thinking we need to exercise for stress and we need to do that, but it does help with stress hormones and it increases circulation. So we need to remember that. The requirement right now is 30 minutes a day to 150 minutes a week. So however you can get that, we know people are staying home right now, but you can walk, moderate to regular exercise. Find an accountability buddy that you can talk with on the phone. You can reduce your stress at the same time while you're talking to them on the phone and going out on a walk together. Get in the water right now because it's hot in Arizona, work and do your exercises. And the most important thing is stop thinking about it so much and just get out and do it, or call a trainer. Make yourself accountable for it. However you need to figure out, you need to do that right now. So I've always said to my clients that exercise isn't an option. Not just now, but I mean, in general. So if people are adopting all of these things right now, I hope that they stick with them forever, not just because of the pandemic and because they have to, but let's adopt these things in our routines right now for life.
Well, I think people are realizing just how good it makes us feel. In addition to all the health benefits from the inside out, we just feel better about ourselves.
It's absolutely. Well, you and I understand it. People ask me, how are you doing through this? And I said, well, I'm pretty grounded in general, and my life is of service. I am here to help people and do that. That makes me feel better too. But when you exercise many times during the week, what does a person that exercises do? So I have to get on my cycle bike and I have to get my heart rate up really high. And or sprint down the street. That's how I find ways to cope, which is where we're going right now. Like, how are people finding ways to reduce their stress, hopefully exercise, some other things, and how are they coping? And we have to remember that chronic stress, acute stress, those all lower our immune system. So we all have to find our ways, what we need to do right now, I feel more than ever, is try not to be judgmental about how people are coping. People are going to have their own way of coping, and so if it stresses you to be on social media, then get off the social media. I'm not negating the numbers that we're going through because they are astronomical, but sometimes I just need to take a little step back, because if I have to preserve my energy in order to help my clients. So I think that everyone's coping strategies are their own, but being in nature might help. Getting out, obviously, and exercising, meditating, which helps you breathe deeper, which helps you relax yourself. There's apps for that too. Journaling. This is one of my favorites. So guided imagery. Athletes do it all the time. So instead of seeing this virus as coming at us, not being able to control it, use guided imagery to see how your immune system is getting stronger, how you're fighting everything off with your white blood cells, how you're evading it with everything that you have in your power. Use that guided imagery right now to know within yourself that I'm doing everything that I can, other than social distancing and masking and everything else, to keep myself away from this horrible virus.
Well, we do have to remain positive, as difficult as it might seem sometimes, and the exercise and making sure that we are fueled from the inside out definitely does help, as you mentioned. I want to let people know where they can find you for more information. If you'd like to find out more about what Jodi is talking about, you can find out Jodi Stokes Fitness on the internet at jodistokes.com. And also you can find Jodi's book. As I mentioned, it's on Amazon. It's called Water Exercise, and it is out right now. Jodi, always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Same with you, Catherine. You take care of yourself and stay safe.
You too. Great advice, and I definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching Conversations with Catherine. Please remember to hit the subscribe button, like, and comment while you're here. I'll see you next time.